for joining me for part 2 of how to save money on the homestead. We're doing a food forest, we're doing an herb garden, and we're doing a vegetable garden. And with so many different projects going on, it's easy for this to cost a ton of money. And so me, on a budget of a 1-income household way below the poverty line, how do I save money and make all of this possible? Now for the wood chips, I don't spend money on the wood chips. I go to a local place that I found that gives the wood chips for free, and the city just collects all the debris, runs it through a shredder, and dumps it in this one area, and anybody who wants to can come get it. Now it's not like treated wood chips, and it's not clean wood chips. There's debris of live plants in it, which is actually kind of what I want. I want it to be just an entire tree ground up, shredded, or whatever it is that they do with the mulcher. And then I take that and I put that in my ground for the pathways. Now that also builds up the soil because since it's a mixed mulch, it breaks down faster, feeds the soil faster, feeds the microorganisms faster. So this is really like, if I had to pay for one, I would pay for this rather than the other stuff, which is kind of dead. But I don't have to because this is kind of like their scrap mulch. So this is free. The leaf mold is free. And that's only because I go and I hand shovel it myself. So this is my trailer. It's not mine, it's my in-laws, and they so graciously let me use it. But I borrow this trailer dozens of times in the spring, and I fill it up by hand with a pitchfork or a shovel, depending on what it is that I'm getting. Mulch is better with a shovel, leaf mold is better with a pitchfork, I've found. And I load that thing up as much as I can, bring it back, unload it into those piles that you can see right there, and then I do it again. And then I put everything that's in those piles into a wheelbarrow and I wheel it up the hill, and then I put it in my garden beds. Okay, so another way that you can save money is by finding smart little things that save you dollars at a time, but eventually add up to being a big deal. So you can see here is my tomato trellis. I have these big treated stakes that were meant to go in a garden. And then up above, I have these, I don't know if they're plumbing tubes or something like that, I don't know. And then these T-posts. And so it all goes together really easily. I didn't need any tools for it other than a stake driver that my father-in-law had and I just borrowed. And I was able to make these tomato trellises. Now I have several of them around the garden. I'm gonna end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. Now, the way that I saw it done on YouTube was, instead of these poles, using T-posts. Now I can see that T-posts last forever, but in order to get a T-post that is this tall would cost me $10.99 per post. Now that's 7 trellises, and I need 2 per, so that's $140. And then not to mention buying the T connector bracket thingies, I don't know, to go on top. That's 2 for each one. And then these long poles. And that's like $150, $160. I don't have money for that. I'd rather buy plants if I'm going to spend money like that, but I don't even have money to spend like that in the meantime. So I looked at it in frustration at the store. I saw the T-posts and I thought, oh, seriously, you're gonna make me pay that? Seriously? I can't do this anymore. This idea is not gonna work because I just don't have the cash for that. So what I did was, as I was frustrated, I looked around, and in that same area where they had the T-posts, I was able to see that they had these stakes, and they were for fruit trees, and they were half the price. And it was still expensive, and I kind of had to like convince myself that that was okay, but it was still half the price. And if you do that for every project that you do around the homestead, you cut the cost by half, you're going to be able to do a lot more projects that you would have been able to do in the first place. And so I got these. They're going to last me a good amount of years. I'm not even sure if I like this method yet because this is the first time I'm doing it. So I'm not going to go in and spend all the money I could. But these posts, they're treated wood. I mean, they're treated for plants, and it's not a harsh chemical that's going to get into the garden that I have to worry about leaching out. It's okay. This is going to last me long enough to understand if this is something that I want, and if it is something good, I can save up for a few years to get the T-posts if these do end up breaking down. Although if they're treated, it should take a long time before they break down, because it's not like they're sitting in the dirt getting moldy like the edges of raised garden beds or something like that. So there you go. Okay, so another way to save money is to not do raised beds. If you're doing the no-dig method, it's okay. It's okay to not do raised beds. Now, I'm on a hill. Using that wood or whatever it is that you're going to do to hold in the beds is expensive. And I just don't have money for that. And so I replenish my soil every year with leaf mold. I haven't seen any of it washing away because I did use some wood here, but that was all repurposed from my husband's work. I didn't have to pay for that. That was just scrap wood laying around. But I don't know, maybe I'd see some running out. But I think if I would seen erosion, I would have seen it from this bed coming out. And I haven't. I would have seen it from this bed coming out, or this bed, or, you know. And so I made all these new beds, and I didn't put anything around them, even on a hill, and it's okay. And that saved me a ton of money. Okay, so another way to save money is to save your own seed. So maybe one year, get all the vegetables that you want, specific ones that are important to you, and then save the seeds from them. And it's really not that hard to save seeds. It's the act of actually just doing it, starting, and then you'll realize, if you haven't done it before, how easy it is. And a lot of seeds are ridiculously simple, like echinacea, or zinnias, or tomatoes, cucumbers, pumpkins. All these things are super easy, and you'll have those seeds and you'll have those varieties for years to come. So that's a great way to save money. This is my chicken coop, and you'll notice it's a little off kilter because I wanted to design something whimsical, and so it's a little off kilter. My brother thinks it looks like a Dr. Seuss house. I was thinking kind of like fae, something you find in the woods. Anyway, I realized that as I was building it, it is so much harder to build crookedly than it is to build straight. So maybe I won't ever do that again, but it was fun while it lasted. So this is the inside of the coop, and all of this I made. It cost me $30 to build this chicken coop, and we house all 35 chickens in here. They all like to kind of roost up top here. We have some nesting boxes right here. So we got some eggs right there we got to take care of. And then I got a bunch of nesting boxes on the side here. This is old wood that I used. Well, I am a karate instructor, and these are rejected wooden boards that people would break for their black belt tests, and they were just cracked already a little bit, or they were the end pieces, so they were too skinny, or something like that, too narrow. And so these are the rejected pieces, and I use those as my dividers. I used scrap hardware cloth that I found at the dump, and then everything else. I mean, there's some big pieces. If there are big pieces of wood holding things together in here, it's all scrap. that I found at the dump, and I just kind of harvested as I found it. But everything, including the roof, is made out of old pallets. The trailer was a gift to us by somebody who didn't want it anymore because they didn't have, oh, I know it's not called a deed for a vehicle or a trailer, but basically the equivalent of a deed for a trailer. And the lights on the end were broken, and the wood that was at the bottom of it was kind of, there's a mass exodus. There was a, all the wood was kind of rotting, and so they didn't want it anymore, so they gave it to me for free. See, even the roof of the coop is made out of pallets. So that cost me about $30 to build because I did have to buy some hardware for it, like these hinges. So you see these hinges right here that I put and I attached to this plywood in order to lift this up so that we can get to the nesting boxes easily. And this plywood was at the dump, and I just threw it in the back of the truck and brought it home. And so nails, hooks, the latches, we use this. This is really cool. Here, let me unhook it right here. But this lifts up. I need to clean the chicken coop. And I don't know if you can see, but there's a big, huge piece of plywood underneath. And none of these nesting boxes that you see are resting on it. And so when it's time to clean the chicken coop, I just yank out this plywood from the bottom and clean off the plywood, and it makes it so much easier to clean off because I don't have to worry about scraping the floor. So I was mentioning that my husband works at a stave mill, and so they cut these staves for the whiskey barrels, and there's a lot of leftover scrap lumber, and it's all white oak, so it's really high quality stuff. So I use the scraps that he brings home to do my edging. You can see this edging here along the side of the foods forest. That all comes from some of the main scraps that my husband brings home from the warehouse. And we also use that as our firewood for our wood stove because it's already sectioned. We just kind of have to, sorry, the cats are playing. We just kind of have to make it smaller. Okay, so we cut it down just a little bit. Sorry, the ducks also scared me. They're not normally over there. But here we go. This is what he brings home for me. So you can see they have like this 2 flat sides, and then they have the round side. So this is the side that I have showing into the outside of whatever bed I'm building, or to the outside of the fence that I'm putting up. And then one side sits flat on that flat edge, and the other flat edge is the thing that holds in the mulch or the dirt or whatever it is. And then when we need to use it for firewood, we just split it halfway. Fits in the wood stove just perfectly. We use the splitter over there that my in-laws have, and that's really handy dandy. If you want to see the ducks, they're way over there. Normally they're not over there, and seeing the black little shape, I was like, oh no, it's a skunk. But it's not, it's a duck. I have had a skunk walk up on me when I was shoveling the mulch pile. Didn't even see it till it was like 4 feet away from me. That was a scary moment. I very slowly backed off, and as soon as I was far enough away, I just started running, tried to get my father-in-law to come scared away, but we were too late. It had meandered off wherever it wanted to go after that. Okay, so another thing that we do for saving money, literally everything I do, I try to save money around here because, I mean, like I said, we live way below the poverty level, and I want to have a luscious, abundant, gorgeous food forest and garden. And the only way to do that is save money as much as possible when I can. So when I'm putting up my fences, some of the most expensive things that you can use for fencing is T-posts or rebar or poles or buying stuff like that when, I mean, seriously, look where we live. All that forest, all of it, all the forest. And from the forest comes things like these. Now this is what I use for my fencing now, if I can. My favorite to use is cedar, because this is just going to last forever. And this is what I attach my fencing to. And if I don't have that, I will find and repurpose old T-posts. You can see this one, I mean, it's only been here 3 years, so you can see how rough it was when I got it. And then I stuck some rebar in there to kind of make it taller. Down here, I had to kind of shimmy it a little bit. So you see, I've got wood attached to it to keep it up. And I know the barbed wire really doesn't do anything that it looks like in the food forest, but deer, when they see the barbed wire at this point, they run. So they don't even try to mess with it. If they just see it, it doesn't have to be effective in the literal sense of the word. It just has to be there for them to see it. So there's the edging again. But this is what I use. Basically whatever I can find, whatever I can repurpose in order to make these posts for the fencing. And then I hand make all of my doors. So any gate that I have, you can see the trellis that I have back there. I handmade that, cut down those cedar trees by hand. That was hard. And hauled them out of the forest by hand. But I think these doors actually look better than if I had bought a door for the food forest. It's cute, and it's held together by zip ties. Literally the duct tape of a homestead. So I don't have to buy doors. I don't have to buy the trellises that I make. I don't have to buy a lot of the fence posts. I don't have to buy the edging. I don't have to buy the wood chips. I don't have to buy the leaf mold. And then the cuttings and the seeds and the little tiny seedlings that I buy and the small bare root trees that I buy. Also, if you buy a certain amount of bare root trees from certain companies, you'll get free shipping. And it is worth getting a couple extra trees because you're going to want them eventually, right? To get the free shipping, because shipping for trees is really a lot of money. So if you can find a place that gives you free shipping, first of all, that's great. Do that. But if you have to get it to like $150, save up your money a little at a time so that you can get that rather than paying so much money for shipping when you could be using that money buying trees. So if you're willing to build it yourself, haul it yourself, or plant it yourself as far as seeds, or maybe even save the seeds yourself, you're going to save a ton of money when it comes to homesteading and gardening. If you're willing to do the cuttings, if you're willing to look around and see if maybe there's other options that, like the tomato trellises, that you can use that'll save you maybe $5 at the time, but when you add that up times 14, ends up being quite a lot of money. If you're willing to do those things on your own, work hard, and have patience, and that's the big thing. If you're really willing to have patience, you can do this on an incredibly small budget, and that is such a big deal. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, please give this video a like. That helps me out a lot, and it helps with the algorithm so more people can see this video as well. And if you could subscribe too, that would be great. And if you do subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can see when new videos come out as soon as they're there. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, and God bless.